Alright, well the first step I think we're going to have to do is take the front end off of the Stampede. I don't know whether you can see right here on this Stampede the shock is bent. So those have to be changed, and I do have replacement shocks for them. I've never heard of these before. I wanted to buy the Traxxas ones, but I ended up getting these ones for I think a reasonable price. I'm not sure, but they've got to be filled, and we'll install those and do that at another time. But right now I want to get the front end of this thing off. So I'll grab the right tools and we'll start the process. I'm going to try and take this whole front end off in 4 screws or less. I'll take there's 2 screws holding this front body mount. And we'll save that for later. Now we'll get in and get these 2 screws on top at the front, just in front of the controller box. Now, if you can see, there's a little screw here. I'm going to take off this whole thing from the motor. Take it off from here. And see, because I don't leave that thing on and change that independently. With that steering controller thing off this whole front, it does. It slides right off. How about that? Nothing to it. Starting with the bumper. Well, there's 3 screws under here that look like it's got something to do with the bumper. We'll start with those 3 and see where we end up. Okay, there was a blue plate on the front of here with 1 screw in the middle, and then there was these 2 pins holding the lower control arms on, and that made it very loose. But there's still 2 screws in the back here that I need to get off, and I shall. Now, those 2 bottom screws out, and they were just a touch longer than the other 3 that held the bumper on. This is all quite loose, but that, it kind of sits like that and then it kind of comes apart. And I know these 2 screws have to come off, and I know that there's bearings in here, because this is the piece I've got to replace to start with. So I'm going to get this piece replaced with a part from the kit. But like I say, these 2 bolts are going to come off, and the bearings that are inside here I got to keep intact. As you can see, there's these 2 little screws and 2 little washers that came off the top. Now we're going to try and pull this apart. We'll see what happens. Actually, it was easy. You just grab onto the thing and pull up straight, and it leaves the 2 bottom bearings on, which frankly don't look that great to me. Let's see if I can get these off without damaging them. They'll be fine. There's one of them. I just got to find a way to get this thing off without damaging it. I just used a side cutter. Put the side cutters underneath like this, very gently started prying it off, then grabbed onto it with my hand and pulled it. It was fine, no problem. Alright, inside the low center of gravity kit is bag B. And this has got the new front replacement for this one, so you can see the difference. It's quite a bit different. I'll just stick the bottom bearings back in their holes. First day with your new hands? Yeah. Just push those back in there. And take this. And with the bearings back in the bell crank, you can then take the new front horn from the kit and press the posts back up into those bearings and then tighten the screws. It's anybody's guess on how tight to make these things, but I'm just going to put them till they're snug. So now we've got this 2 screws on of the new thing, and now we're just sticking the pins back in. They don't go all the way through. I'm not exactly sure why, but it doesn't seem right to me. But then this baby goes on over top, crown side up, and then 1 screw in the middle. Okay, well, we got the two posts in. We got that screw back in. But I'm not exactly sure what holds these posts from coming out. They don't seem to come out, but I don't know what holds them from coming out. Next up is the RPM front bumper fit slash. I bought is quite a bit longer on this, so what does this thing come with? That boy. Bunch of parts. I'm guessing something like that. There's instructions. There's a bunch of screws, a couple of stickers for the body. Nice. Hang on to those. Best I can figure it. 4 screws puts the 2 bottom pieces together, and then 3 screws on the bumper like that. And then I'll mount the bumper with those 3 screws onto the bottom of the chassis. Simple. It's not that hard to do. Just a bunch of screws got to come out, but that's the slash front end with the low center of gravity body connecting piece and a slash RPM made slash front bumper. So as a recap, just to be sure you caught all the steps and parts, we removed the front end from the old Stampede with 4 bolts, 4 screws. There was 2 screws right in here, and there was 2 screws right in the front here. Here, I'll use a screwdriver as a pointer. So these 2, then in the corners here. Then they went through here and here, and let's see, here and here. Those came out. Then there was the screw on the steering servo mechanism arm, which I removed. Attached right there. There's an arm with a linkage. So that was it, 5 screws, and this whole front end popped right off. Once that was done, we replaced this horn. This is the one for the Traxxas. This is from the kits, the Traxxas kit for the low center of gravity for the slash. And this is the bumper from the RPM bumper, which was a bunch of screws that went in. I found out, by the way, what holds these 2 posts in. The actual bumper does. There's a thing on the bumper, a little fixture on the bumper, if you can see, that holds those little posts in from sliding out. So not to worry, everything's good. Now that this is all put together, I'm just going to set it aside. I still have to replace the shocks because you can see this one is not going straight, it's bent. And that was me not knowing how to drive the thing and running into God only knows what. Next up, in part 4, we take the rear section of the Stampede, make it ready for the new low center gravity slash 4x4 chassis. Now clearly you can tell I've never done this before. I can't remember whether it's a screw or a bolt. I can never remember the name of all the parts that are involved. But that should tell you something. If I can do it, you can do it too. So stay tuned for part 4.